Today, I'm going to be talking about Parallel. I ended up stumbling on this film entirely at random. I had the idea that I just wanted to watch something more serious, had watched a goofy sci-fi or two previous to this, and when I stumbled on it, I'm not sure what it is about it that drew me in. I just looked at the image and decided to take a roll of the dice. It's actually quite a recent sci-fi. It just came out sometime during 2024. So, kind of fun to see something that's more recent than I've been watching. Actually focused on three people. There is Vanessa, Alex, who is Vanessa's husband, and Martel, who is Alex's brother. The movie kicks off with them staying in a really lovely house way out in the woods that apparently Alex and Martel's dad had and was using before he died. And it's set a year after, roughly a year after, Vanessa and Alex have lost their son tragically. The trauma and the struggle is heavily present. The year clearly has not done much to touch on that grief. No one is at ease. Vanessa, in particular, is the most impacted and withdrawn. There is a tipping point that occurs, and Vanessa ends up going off into the woods for a hike by herself just to have time to herself, figure out how she's feeling away from everyone else. And then she finds herself being shot at by herself. I'll leave the rest of the plot alone so that it's not spoiled for anyone, but it clearly starts going down interesting paths from there. Parallel fits pretty solidly into drama/thriller territory. It's apparently a remake here in the US off of a Chinese film from 2019. Translated title for that is Parallel Forest. So, not too far off title-wise. I was hoping that I could find that original Chinese film after watching this, but I didn't have luck finding it online. Hopefully at some point it can surface in a spot because I would be very interested in that for sure. Fun extra tidbit. The brothers in the film, Alex and Martel, they're played by real-world brothers, Aldous and Edwin Hodge. And they've actually started their own production company, the Hodge Brothers Production Company. I think that's what it's called. Parallel is the first film from this company of theirs. And they also were responsible for writing the film's screenplay with another person, Jonathan Keesley. So they were definitely heavily involved and invested in this particular film project. As far as unique elements in the film, even without giving away plot elements to elucidate that a little further, it's never clearly defined in it. It wasn't a case of stumbling on the precise explanation for what's happening. There's some context with the area and a character that is never met, but there is no neatly laid out reason and understanding of what exactly is unfolding. Speaking just for myself, I found this really engaging and emotionally gripping. Long before the sci-fi aspect showed up, I was already engaged and caring about these characters and seeing the loss that they are grappling with and have been grappling with for quite some time. There is so much sci-fi where tragedy is present. It can be the impetus for the film, what drives someone to invent something or cause something. And then, of course, there's so many films where the sci-fi element is the reason for a tragedy unfurling and is a driver of what is causing tragedy and loss and chaos. Having said that, this film felt interesting and maybe a bit more unique. I'm inclined to think about how in Everything Everywhere All at Once, there is an existing trauma generationally in their family and how they grow up and respond and interact. And it's embedded in the film. It's not part of what causes the sci-fi, and yet it's an undeniable important element of what the characters are grappling with. And it absolutely defines what they do, what their responses are, how they feel and think about things. It is shaped by these experiences. In parallel, it's a more recent tragedy. It's not something embedded across generations. Nevertheless, it is absolutely shaping all three of their lives. It is monumental, the impact this is having on them, and it is not gone. It is not forgotten. It is massively hanging over all of them. It feels like Vanessa and Alex in particular are struggling and not coping well with the loss of their son. I can certainly understand and feel how loss is not so easily coped with and resolved in some way for a person. It holds on to you. It takes a hold of how you walk through life. Grief is such a powerful force, and the way that it can chop through your life and shape your capacity, your ability, what you have at hand to do anything else in life as you're living day to day. It's so potent, and we all have to grapple with that at some point. So when the sci-fi element does show up, the grief is not gone. Even while Vanessa and the others are responding and attempting to figure out what is happening, that doesn't get laid to the side and forgotten about. It's underpinning all of their efforts, all of the struggle. It's not gone. And even the relational aspects of that continue to have that impact. It continues to be this element that hangs over every interaction that they have. And a new crisis doesn't change that. It doesn't take that away. I think this film may have struck me because it hit this interesting intersection of loss on top of a problem that is coming up. Like I said before, most of the time that you often see sci-fi, and there is some element of grief, some element of struggle or a crisis or a tragedy, the sci-fi element is often causing the tragedy, and so it's very much tied up in that aspect and fixing it. Or sometimes the sci-fi element is born out of something that went wrong and they're trying to fix it. And so in a sense, it's further along the path of grief, grappling, and resolution. It's to the point of problem solving and past the initial, those days in grief of inertia and not having the ability to do things. And in this film, we are still very much in this place of hurt and difficulty being alive and doing the things that mean that you're still alive and continuing past that tragic point. I think it gives extra poignancy and struggle to something to see these characters and be invested in this problem that they're all hurting through. And yet all of them are at different points with that. Their experience of the loss of Vanessa and Alex's son, Martel's nephew, the part that they feel is theirs around that death and what occurred. Every experience is unique. None of them are united in how they feel about this and how they're coping with that, even though they're family and you want to be able to have that with family. And I think that is more honest than sometimes we want to say grief can be like. I've lost people close to me, I've lost a parent, and I did come away with those experiences and seeing family and friends during those times. And even though everyone is grieving, your own feelings around that, your own relationship with the person, and how you feel that your relationship was sitting prior to this person being gone. I can share grief with people, and yet it's not the same journey. Their journey and appreciation for this person is not the same as mine. Aside from enjoying sci-fi, I do like coming across films like this where it's not always the sci-fi element that brings up the conundrums and the thoughts that I'm running through my mind and having about what I watched and what feels important to me to think about and wonder how that might apply to my own self. How I think, how I feel, what I might do in situations moving forward that I didn't do in the past. Sometimes in films, I don't think I'm alone in this, but it can be maybe a struggle to watch a character as they're trying to solve something. And it can be like the horror trope of, why aren't you running away? Why are you going down creepy things and not going with backup? Why are you picking such dumb choices? And of course, we're not in the situation. We're not experiencing the fear, the anxiety. The characters are not seeing everything we see as the audience. We have this omnipresent view over everything that the characters don't get. Nevertheless, it can be easy to get frustrated at a character as they struggle, and it's so easy for us to see what they could be doing differently or how they could be approaching this and making more informed choices. This film could hit on that, but I found a lot of compassion for these characters because they're not at their best way before any of the odd elements start showing up. They've not been at their best for months, and it's taking a toll. It would feel odd to say I liked the film because it was not a happy film. I did appreciate the film. I did find it a very worthwhile watch for myself personally, and I found myself reassessing my own thoughts on how you move and cope with grief. I was aiming for a serious film, and I walked away with a pretty lovely experience for myself. If you have any curiosity about the film, it is streaming right now, last I checked, on Fubo TV and Paramount Plus. Of course, things change, so if you're looking for it for yourself and curious about where it might show up anytime in the future, I've been using justwatch.com, and you can literally plug in the movie Parallel and look out for the year that it came out, 2024, so you can find the right one. And then it allows you to see where it is streaming, where it can be rented or bought, and it covers quite a few different streaming services, which makes it a lot easier to use the ones that I like to use through the library, like Hoopla or Canopy. I would definitely encourage people to give this one a try. I love that this was sort of an independent project coming out of a new company that was inspired to make their own take off of the original Chinese film and really had hands on in developing the film and getting it out there. I may not have heard of it as it was coming out last year, but I'm very glad I stumbled on it and gave it a try for myself. Obviously, I'm coming back to talk about more movies, so see you soon.